I think just figuring out what your end goal is and kind of like putting that in your head and then work backwards, that would have been a game changer in my 20s. Hi, so my name is Raedel and I graduated 2008. I graduated BA Philosophy, but of course I
Okay.
was an active JMA member for 4 years since I was in second year college. And basically, my uncle is a fashion designer in the Philippines. So right after school, I decided to pursue fashion. And when I got to LA, I started doing costumes for TV shows and
Okay.
for films and commercials. I think the challenge really is finding my passion in a new environment. Because of course, when you move to a new place, your main concern is survival, earning money. So it's very easy to just get the next best job that's gonna provide a good salary.
Yeah.
So my challenge really was to how do you call this, tiisin, to get to the path that I really want to go and not just take the thing that's right in front of me. So that was the challenge.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely, 100%. So basically, when I was in JMA, I was you guys still have PubCom, right? Publicity,
Yes.
the publicity,
Yeah, we do. We
and
do.
I did the event, and just being in JMA and organizing events, working with a team for 4 years, the confidence that I got from that is something that's so valuable when I moved to America. Because with my contemporaries who were just starting in fashion, they didn't know how to talk to superiors, they didn't know how to organize events, they didn't know the value of being resourceful. So that already gave me that already gave me an advantage when I got the job. Just getting
Okay.
things done. Significant change. I think it was dealing with different cultures, because when I was in Manila, everybody is raised the same way. So same values, same principles. Everybody, even in JMA, 80% will come from the top three schools in the Philippines. So it's you know how to deal, you know the kind of people that you're dealing with. So when I moved to the US, you literally work with everyone from all walks of life. So I work in film. I work with a lot of people who have no formal training or no formal education, but they're very artistic and they're very creative. So I have to learn how to respect that and respect that process. So yeah, I think that's the big difference. Definitely my favorite experience is heading the costume department for the Oscars. I think that was a couple of years ago. So I did the voice for 8 years before that, and I was the first assistant of the costume supervisor. And then as soon as I got the offer to do the Oscars, I don't I didn't think that I can do it at first, but I'm just like, okay, I've been an assistant for 8 years. I just have to do this and figure it out as I go. So I did the Oscars, and I basically did like 100 something costumes in 4 days. And up until now, I still don't know how I did it, but I did. And
Oh, that's a
that was
lot. Yeah.
that was a really powerful moment, and it's really hard to get approvals too. So with my job, I submit to the producers the looks that I produce, and
Oh,
after that it goes through an approval process. So even like 2 hours before the show, I was still trying to get approvals done. But yeah, I did it and my team pulled through, so that was unforgettable.
2 hours before the show.
Do you guys know
Sounds
the
hectic.
song This Is Me in The Greatest Showman?
Yeah, that. Yeah.
Okay, so that was the year that I did the Oscars. So
Oh, wow.
So when they were performing it on stage, I had tears down my eyes backstage because I really felt it. I'm like, oh my God, this is me. Well, if it's somebody I've met, probably Oprah. That would have to be
Oh,
on my. That would be the. Or Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama would have to be Oprah and Michelle Obama. Those two.
okay.
But I only work with them for one day.
What are they like?
Very respectful, very professional. They're so inspiring. You know, that's why I find it weird that here in the Philippines, when you meet these kinds of people, they all have attitudes and they're all like divas. But in the US, when you meet people in this stature, they are the best people to be around with because they are just so gracious. But they were definitely inspiring and you can feel their energy and they just literally lift everyone's spirits up. Everyone was just so excited.
How about the most famous ones that you've worked with, or the ones you've most enjoyed working with?
Well, Michelle Obama, I worked with her, but I think the most interesting one. It depends because the most interesting one would definitely have to be BTS, because they came with a huge entourage. So that was really difficult, and I couldn't hear anything because people around us were screaming. So that was exciting. And then probably another one would be Shakira, just because she broke her tooth while I was working with her. So, so there were a lot of logistics and optics that I had to take care of. So those were the kind of memorable ones.
I wanted to ask more, Raedel, about how Michelle Obama was. How is it that you met them? What was the occasion?
Was
Michelle.
just from the voice.
Okay, so they were like guests. They're like guests there.
Yeah. And basically, I took care of her for one day.
So you were with Michelle Obama like the whole day.
About like 6-8 hours. They
Wow.
go
What did
out. Yeah.
What did you guys talk about? Did you have like conversation with her or?
No, well, I really didn't get the chance to talk with her about deep things, but
Okay.
but she would like talk to me about her wardrobe. What do I think? Her
Oh,
style.
really? That's cute.
No, she always makes sure that she's comfortable in her wardrobe. Yeah, and things like that. It's more professional.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. How about BTS? How was BTS like?
It's like Gucci everywhere.
Oh,
It was crazy. I think they're the wealthiest people. At least they have the wealthiest crew.
Wow.
With an entourage of 30 people. Usually bands would have like, I don't know, 3 assistants. They have a whole battalion. And they
Oh
brought
my gosh.
dancers from Korea.
Wow.
They look so good. They look so good. I get it. After I
Yeah,
met
you get it. You get why people are crazy about them.
yeah,
did you ever personally meet them though? Like any of the singers?
the BTS crew. Yeah,
Yeah.
I met them.
How
Of
were
course-
they?
Well, no, like on a personally and talk to them.
Yeah.
It's more of a professional interaction. Like, let me
Oh,
know
okay.
anything. I have this stylist on standby for you. Blah blah. Yeah.
But they weren't like divas naman, the BTS people. Or were they?
No.
That's
You know,
nice. That's nice to know.
well, the thing is, diva. Well, I don't know if you guys have the time, but in the US, if you're an international artist, most of them would come with requests, like a 1-page or 2-page request before they even.
Yeah.
That's just being professional. So we understand what they're looking for, and they're not really divas. Usually, people who get to this level of success, they get there because they're super professionals. You don't ever. I've never really worked with anybody that's a diva.
That's nice. That's
Oh,
nice.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Because like we hear some celebrity horror stories.
So
Yeah, definitely.
Christina Aguilera, I think, is the only one that I think is really a diva. So sometimes
Oh, you
Okay.
met Christina Aguilera also.
she was on The Voice for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How was she like?
Well, there was one time that she made the crew wait for 4 hours, and when you're 15 minutes late in the US, that's already a big deal. So 4 hours is a lot.
Oh my gosh.
I have to give it to her. The girl got it all in one take.
Wow.
Oh wow. Wow.
So she's good. I mean, she's galing naman.
Yeah.
So she made up. Made up.
She's galing. In fairness, galing siya.
Yeah, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm late. I'll get the job done though. No,
That's the reason why she's allowed to be late.
I'm like, okay, you're forgiven. Yes and no. I think yes in a way that I've always known that I was gonna be in an industry that's more creative. I never saw myself working in the corporate world. But no, because it kind of like organically fell into my lap, because the time that I moved to the US, it was during the recession. So the easiest job I could get was the job that I was trained to do with my uncle, which was a designer. So I kind of like just fell into the
Okay.
industry, and yeah, and the the path was there, so I just followed it, but I never really planned on being in entertainment and television. I think the biggest challenge for me being a Filipina in the TV industry is that you always want to please everyone. So when I started as an assistant, I would say yes to everything, and anything they asked that my boss and my producers asked me to do, I would say yes. But after 6 or 7 years of working with these people, if you always say yes, then there's sometimes they take advantage, or they push it too much. There came a time when I was working three jobs, like a three-person job, and I still said yes to it. So I'm still going through it now, but I think the biggest challenge is knowing your worth and not being afraid to say no, and having really good personal boundaries. Because it doesn't mean that you say no to a job that you're not a good employee, but of course there's a way of delivering it. So I think that has been like the biggest challenge for me. Every day. Every day. Well, what kind of existential crisis? Like what do you mean by that? I want to make sure we're.
Do you have second thoughts? Do you ever wonder if you're am I right to be here? Am I right to be in this career?
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. I just like most of my friends, they work in corporate jobs and they have a fixed salary, and they have like a step by step process that they can follow, to being an executive or succeeding in life. Being in the creative
Mm,
industry, it's every decision that you make is gonna set your life, like what projects you take, the producers that you work with. And sometimes you make the wrong decisions and work with really negative people or wrong people, and of course you ask yourself, am I doing the right thing, or is this all worth it? I don't have personal time sometimes to take care of myself before a week or 2 weeks before the show. But I think that my thought process is, as long that as I'm curious, and as long as I'm having fun, and as long as it's challenging, then I can't overthink. It's always like, what's the next best step, what's the next best step, because you can plan 5 years, and I can guarantee you never end up where you plan to be in 5 years. So it's just a matter of just thinking, what's the next best step for me, what's going to make me feel good about myself, what's going to make me thrive as a person. So I always go back to that. Right now
yeah.
I'm living in the province, and
Oh.
yeah, so I basically turned down 5 jobs to be here right now. And I ask myself if I'm making the right decision, but I feel it, and I'm so intuitive in making my decisions that I know that resting and taking and having time with my family is what I need right now. And when I go back to the US, then I'll go full throttle again. I didn't plan on moving back here, but now that I've stayed here for a while, what I do want to do is I want to set myself up so that I can live in both places. So when I have
Oh, okay. Okay.
when I have big projects, I want to go to the US. So that's going to be 2 to 3 big projects a year. And for the other 3 to 4 months of the year, while I'm not doing any projects, I want to establish businesses here in the Philippines, because that's gonna, I want to be more creative in a different way, like creative in making money, creative, creative in using our natural resources, or like, I want to train like a team of Filipinos who can start on a project. So yeah, let's see where it leads me. like your age in my 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm just a very experimental person. If I have the thought, then I'm gonna do it the following day. It's
Okay.
almost like it's almost instinct for me that if I feel pressure or I feel scared, I want to get my feet wet right away so I can figure out what doesn't work. And then if it doesn't work, I'll move on and then move on to the next one. So I guess the answer is really just acting on your thoughts and creating good values. Like I think hard work, patience, developing your talent will never go out of style. It's always going to be useful for you. And then just keep on, if you have a thought, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to climb the corporate ladder, just get started and then figure it out as you go. The best decisions I've made in life are the ones that I just listen to my intuition. And I think a big part of that is taking the time to know yourself. Like, what makes you happy? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What kind of people do you want to surround yourself with? And if you're guided by your own principles and your own values, it's so impossible to make the wrong decision. Yes, absolutely. Yes, but making mistakes is a big part of getting of adulting or growing up. So if I didn't make those mistakes or if I didn't struggle, then I wouldn't be where I am right now. But I guess the big thing that I'm gonna change is before I used to just be intuitive and just do things. I wish I would have thought more of what my end goal is and then work backwards from there. That would have made the process a lot more faster for me because I just realized that in my late 20s, like what kind of life do you want? Do you want a life where you're busy all the time, where you're in the city, or do you want a life that's more creative? So I think just figuring out what your end goal is and kind of like putting that in your head and then work backwards, that would have been a game changer in my 20s. You always want to start with the end in mind instead of just being busy and not knowing your why. The thing is with my friends, most of my friends who are also in JMA, they also travel. So it's either I go back to the Philippines once a year or they go to LA once every 2 years. And then for the most, but don't be too scared about that because real friends transcend time. You don't need to talk all the time to maintain these friendships. I've had periods of time where I'm super busy, but every time I need them, they're always there for me. And I need to find comfort in just knowing that. I don't want to disillusion the people listening here, but I'll tell you something. So LA, especially being in the entertainment industry, it's a different world. Like people will become friends with you because they need something from you or you can contribute something to their life. And that's always going to be the way it is. I think that's the big difference. My friends in the Philippines, they see me for the real me and they love me no matter what career I have, even if no matter how much I'm earning, they still love me and they know who I really am because I grew up with them. My friends in LA, I can only count the people who see me that way. So I guess when you get friends from work, it's just protect your heart and just watch out like why they're making friends with you. I think that's really important too. That's a big part of my success is because I've learned how to read people from the get-go. Like I always know when I first meet someone how to deal with them. I think the biggest difference I think is in Manila. When I was in Manila, you're friends with everyone and you always say nice things about everyone and everything, and every time you think about something negative, you tell your other friends about it. In LA, for some reason, they can smell bullshit from a mile away. So if there's something that you don't like, you have to be upfront about it and they'll respect more they'll respect you more for it. I think that's the biggest difference. Like if you're meeting directors and producers, they'll ask you like, hey, what did you think about my previous project? They will know right away if you're bullshitting them and they would not and they would not respect that. You have to be upfront about what you really think. And I think that's the biggest difference between acquaintances. In the Philippines, it's more personal. In LA, you kind of like create a bond with your professional relationships and the way you respect each other in work or in your craft. Uh, Cultural differences. I guess you guys know quite recently, right? There's a lot of things with the movement in LA, with the Black movement in LA.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think I'm fortunate because I'm Asian. So it's not so polarizing, and I think it's just navigating through those issues because I'm not from there that I find that I have to be more cautious, even in terms of hiring people and hiring a team. So just being more cautious and being more sensitive about those cultural boundaries is really will be really helpful. Is really helpful. Yes, a little bit, but I'm hyper. I'm the kind of like, I mean, I do compare, but I do it more as like note taking. Like, oh, that's what she did. That's helpful. I'm gonna do that next time. Or like, oh, okay, so that's how they kiss ass in the US. I probably cannot do that. Like, I'll take notes about different kinds of people. But in terms of like comparing myself, I don't think I really do that because I know my strengths. I know my strengths, and I cannot compete in an area or category that I'm not strong at. I have to play on my strengths, you know?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go back to personal boundaries. That's okay. So like, I'll show you guys my tattoo. It says boundaries. It has been my greatest it's definitely a recurring theme in my life. I'm a yes person, and I always want to help everyone out, and I feel bad every time I say no to someone. And you know, it applies in all areas in your life, personal, professional. Once you don't have boundaries or you don't know how to communicate them, then everything is going to be so much harder. So I think that's the thing that nobody teaches you in school, that you have to kind of like really establish and know.